Hi, boys and girls, welcome back. Today we're going to be subtracting multi-digit numbers with regrouping and determining if our answer is reasonable. So several things we need to remember when we're subtracting multi-digit numbers. The first thing is that when we're lining up our numbers, our largest number, the number with the greatest value, goes on top. Also, just like in addition, we need to make sure we line up our problems starting in the ones place for both of our numbers and making sure everything's lined up nice and neat. We always want to start subtracting from the ones place on the far right-hand side, just like we did with addition. Now, one thing to always remember, I see kids making this mistake, is that we always subtract the bottom number from the top number. Even if it's a little bit trickier that way, that's the way it has to go. And that's what falls into the need to regroup. So we will be talking about that. One thing it's fun to remember is if there's more on the floor, go next door and get some more. So you'll see some examples of what that looks like. Now, if you need to borrow from a zero, zeros get a little bit trickier. If we have zero, there's nothing there. So we need to borrow from the next place value. So we would borrow from the next place value, get that 10, and then we're able to share out with the place value that's needing that extra number. So we'll look at some examples of that as well. And most importantly, make sure you take your time and regroup and subtract correctly. I see a lot of mistakes because kids are rushing. So slow down and just take a deep breath and take your time for each step. So let's look at a couple examples. So our first example we have here is 7,825 minus 4,376. The first thing we're going to have to do is figure out what would be a reasonable answer for this problem. So we're going to do that by rounding both numbers to the nearest thousands place, because that is the largest place value for each number. So again, if you don't remember how to round, I do have a video in my channel that you can go to that refers to how to round to the nearest place value. So the first number we have is 7,825. Since I have an 8 in the hundreds place, my 7 is going to round up to 8,000. Then I have 4,376. That 3 in the hundreds place is going to tell the 4 to stay the same. It's going to round to 4,000. So now I'm going to subtract those new numbers to get an estimate of the difference. So 8,000 minus 4,000 is 4,000. Therefore, it tells me that my actual answer should be close to 4,000. We'll see that it may not be exactly rounded to 4,000, but it should be close to that. All right, so now let's get in the nitty gritty. This is where we've got to really take our time and see what we're going to do. So you see that I've put the larger number on top. I'm going to start in the ones place. I'm going to start with 5 and take 6 away from 5. But if I only have 5, I can't do that. I have to go next door and get some more. So I'm going to come next door to my 2, and I'm going to say, hey, 2, can I have 10 from you? And that 2 is going to share, because we love to share. So 2 is now going to only have 1 10. So basically that's saying he had 2 10s. Now he has 1, and he's going to give 10 over to this 5. So that 5 is now going to become a 15. So now since he's a 15, I can subtract 15 minus 6. And 15 minus 6 is 9. All right, now we're done in the ones place, so we're going to move to the tens place. Now I have 1 minus 7. Again, I can't take 7 away from 1, so I have to come next door to my 8 and borrow. So there is more on the floor, so I go next door and get 10 more. My 8 is going to become a 7. And now the 1 that I have is no longer going to be a 1. It's going to become 11 because I got 10 more. So now I can do 11 minus 7. 11 minus 7 is 4. I'm going to move on to my next problem in my hundreds place. 7 minus 3 is 4. I didn't have to regroup that one. And 7 minus 4 is 3. Oh, fact families. So my final answer is 3,449. So now I have to think. 3,449 is close to 4,000. That's what my reasonable answer said it should be. Even though it doesn't round to 4,000, it's still a reasonable answer. So sometimes with subtraction, we really will find that our estimate answer may be a little bit off from the actual answer, but as long as it's kind of in the right target, we know that we're on track. All right, so that one was a pretty simple one. We were only dealing with 4-digit numbers and we had no zeros. Now let's get to a little bit more of a challenge. This number is a 5-digit number, and you see that we have a 0 here in our hundreds place, so it's going to make it a little bit trickier. But we are going to start first by estimating and finding what our answer should be close to. So we're going to again start by rounding. This time we're going to be rounding to the 10,000ths place because they're both in 10,000s. So 54,029 is going to round to 50,000. And 28,685, it's going to round to 30,000. So now what do we have to do with those two numbers? You're right. We're going to subtract those two new numbers to get an estimate of our difference. So 50,000 minus 30,000 is 20,000. So that tells me that our actual difference should be close to 20,000. Okay, that was the easy part. Now let's get into the dirty part. All right, here we go. Here's our problem again. We're going to start in the ones place. I see I have 9 minus 5. Ooh, fortunately, I know I can subtract 9 minus 5, and my answer would be 4. No regrouping necessary. Now, moving to my tens place, though, I have 2 minus 8. There's more on the floor, so I have to come next door. Since I can't subtract 8 minus 2, we have to borrow from the hundreds place. But there's a 0 there. So what we're going to do is now we have to also borrow from the thousands place. So again, to recap, we were borrowing because we don't have enough for our tens place. So we went to our hundreds. There was none there, so we have to go to our thousands place. Our thousands place has some, so he's going to become a 3. How much is he going to give over? Remember, if there's more on the floor, go next door and get 10 more. Good. So the thousands place is going to give 10 to the hundreds place. All right. But we can't stop there because we still haven't had any for the tens. So now we have to take the hundreds place can give 10 to the tens place. And there's going to be 9 in the hundreds place. And how many will now be in the tens place? You're right. They'll now have 12 in the tens place. So the tens place can get 10 and equal 12. So now after all of that regrouping, we can finally subtract our tens place. So now we have 12 minus 8 is 4. All right. Ooh, that was a lot of work just to get to that part, but we did it. Notice we took our time. Now we're going to subtract our hundreds place. My new number in the hundreds place is a 9. 9 minus 6 is 3. That was easy. We didn't have to regroup that one. Moving to thousands. 3 minus 8. Oh no, there's more on the floor, so we go next door and get 10 more. You're right. So the 5 becomes a 4. The 3 becomes a 13. So we get the 10 more. So now we're going to subtract 13 minus 8, which is 5. And moving on to finally our 10,000ths place, 4 minus 2 is 2. So our final answer is going to be 25,344. Now, what did we say our answer should be close to? Yeah, we said 20,000. Let's see. 25,344 is close to 20,000. Even though you're right, it doesn't round to 20,000. Would really technically round up to 30,000, but it's still a reasonable answer. It's still really close. Now, if my answer is 250,000, that would tell me that was not a reasonable answer. All right, so some things that we need to make sure we remember, we don't forget. We always need to put the largest number on top. We always need to line up our problem starting in the ones place and always start subtracting in the ones place. We're always going to subtract the bottom number from the top number. And then when there's more on the floor, we go next door and get 10 more. So if we also need to remember to, if we borrow from a 0, we're going to borrow 10 from the next place value, then we'll share them across. And finally, make sure you take your time, regroup, and subtract correctly. I know it's a lot, so if you need to watch this video again, please feel free to. And if you want to have more math help, please subscribe for more lessons on Math Maniac - 4th grade math, or for 4THGRM. Also, click this if you click below if you found this video helpful. Thanks and have a great day.